From the beautiful Finger Lakes region of upstate New York, this is the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. We take questions from anyone in the dental profession and discuss what it takes to win not only in dentistry, but in life. Business, leadership, relationships, parenting, health and wellness, money management, nothing is off limits on the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. I'm Jason Tenori, your host, and have over 20 years of experience to pull from. Learn from my mistakes and let me help you collapse time so you can become the best version of yourself. Yo, welcome back. Dr. Jason here at Dental Lighthouse Podcast. It's a Thursday morning, and I'm going to share some musings, some ramblings with you about a fairly new coaching client that I have. Been working with them maybe 6 weeks. We meet weekly. But I think we can all learn from some of the things that I'm working on with this group. So this group's out of the Carolinas, 3 doctors, all of them are partners, big practice, right? One of those big successful practices, right? Just killing it from a financial perspective, raving fans as far as patients, clinically, they're a well-oiled machine, but they brought me into their world because they're starting to realize that they need a little bit of structure before they scale, before they go to the next level. They're planning on extending the practice, adding 4 or 5 more operatories, and it's going to be, one of these mega practices. Probably, don't quote me on this, but maybe 16, 18 ops after this renovation, and the 3 of them are slowly came to the realization that there's no office manager, there's no team leads, and they're starting to realize, especially from an administrative front desk perspective, that there's a lack of accountability there, that things are not getting done. And because these doctors are extremely busy in the back, they just are struggling to figure out, how do we maintain a level of accountability? How do we make sure that we have A and B players at the front when we're constantly chairside? And it's a super good question, right? So what we decided, all 3 of these doctors they love clinical dentistry and they want to stay at the chair for as much time as they need to be. And again, this goes back to vision. If that's what you want, then let's make that happen. But if that's what we're going to choose to do, then that means we need to delegate the responsibility of front desk administration, front desk leadership, front desk management. And the reason that when I talk to prospective coaching clients, how I say, like, it's not a cookbook, right? We've all worked with those consultants that, especially those that are not dentists. I don't know why this is so relevant with consultants that are not dentists, but these consultants have their way, right? And everything has to be morphed into their way. Otherwise, they don't know how to fix the problem. And no disrespect, no judgment, because their way works most of the time. But if you're in a situation where going from where you're currently at to going to their way is a radical change, then why would you do that? Especially in a situation like this where there's so many good things going on with this practice. So the idea of, well, we have to, completely turn this thing upside down and you have to do everything my way to make this work is ridiculous. So I love to tell prospective coaching clients when I'm on a discovery call with them is, there's no cookbook, but I have gone from a brand new practice 25 years ago, where I was answering the phone, doing the cleanings and doing the restorative work, working out of one op, to the point now where we have 8 practices, multi-specialty, levels of leadership. So I feel like I have the experience to help you get from A to B, no matter where A is, right? And that's what I felt like with this particular group. So instead of telling them, well, you have to have a hygiene lead and you have to have an assistant lead and you have to have an office manager, you have to do all of these things, their team has been with them a long time, and just radical change in a couple weeks never really serves anyone well. I mean, unless things are really, really going bad, which in this particular case, like I said, they're not. So what we basically decided is we are going to focus on leadership at the front desk, and we are going to instill someone into a front desk lead position that can take some of the anxiety and worry off of the doctors that things are going well at the front desk, and they can focus on what they want to focus on, which is not only chairside dentistry, but making sure the entire clinical team, assistants and hygienists, continue to work together and run like a well-oiled machine. So the first thing that has to happen, actually, maybe not the first thing. First thing is vision. But the second thing that needs to happen is filling out an accountability chart or an organizational chart. Now, again, just for the front desk. We'll eventually do it for the clinical team, but I needed them to create clarity at the front desk for who's doing what, right? Because if we're going to promote someone into a front desk administrative leadership position, it's not fair to kind of give them a mess and say, you know, I trust you, straighten it out, and then never kind of revisit it, never support them. So the legacy owner of this practice, just a great dude, understands that, and he's not at the chair as much as the other two, so he has a little bit more of capacity to work on this. So I think their front desk team has 5 people. So what we decided to do was, instead of everybody doing everything, we really tried to dig in and give everyone specific hats, right? You guys have heard me use that term hats. You can also use the term seats. So what we've decided to do is develop a insurance hat, develop a treatment presentation hat, develop a patient advocate hat. You can ultimately develop as many hats as you want, because, as you know, there's tons of front desk responsibilities. So in this particular case, what our plan was is, let's look at what everybody's doing. Let's have them tell us what they're doing on a regular basis. Let's have them tell us what they really like and what they don't like. And then with that, we can develop different seats at the front desk, different hats at the front desk, where we're giving people the responsibilities that they're good at and that they enjoy doing, and hopefully taking away some. You'll never be able to take away all, but taking away some of the responsibilities that they don't flourish at, that they're not good at, that they're not wired genetically to do well. So that was the first thing, is developing this accountability chart for the front desk. So, and that's exactly what we did. We came up with an insurance seat, which was all things verification, claims, appeals, you name it. So we talked about the 5 roles and responsibilities of the insurance seat. We talked about a revenue cycle management person, all things responsible for collections, AR, payment plans, stuff like that. We talked about a financial presentation seat. Now, in this particular practice, I think we have 2 people that are wearing that hat, but each treatment coordinator should only be responsible for certain providers, right? In an effort to develop that rapport with that particular provider. So these treatment coordinators are responsible for explaining treatment to patients, scheduling treatment, presenting financial options and financial arrangements, keeping the schedule to goal, like all of these things, right? And then finally, someone that is going to ultimately be the front desk lead or the administrative lead. So then the question becomes, well, what do we really need this administrative lead, this front desk lead, to do? Such a good question. And it again, there's no cookbook answer, because it depends on so many things. In their particular situation, the front desk lead, I was trying to explain to them, because I see this in my flagship office with, say, my office manager. There's patient-facing tasks, and then there's leadership tasks. And the bigger you are as a leader, a front desk lead, a hygiene lead, a clinical, it doesn't really matter. In this particular case, a front desk lead, the bigger you are, the less patient-facing tasks you're going to have, and the more leadership and accountability task you're going to have. And I would assign a number to it, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. So when you're a really small practice, let's say 5 employees, your front desk lead, even if you don't use that title, or your office manager, even if you don't use that title, they're doing almost all of the patient facing tasks and they're doing a lot of the leadership tasks, right? But when you get to a practice this size, like the practice I'm talking about, for lack of a better guess, about 20% of this front desk lead's time is going to be patient facing, and about 80% is going to be leadership and accountability. So in that 20%, what are they doing? Well, someone calls in sick, they're jumping into that seat. If everyone's on the phone and treatment needs to be presented, then they're jumping into that. If someone calls and they wants to pay a bill, then they're handling that, right? So that's the 20%. It shouldn't be a majority of their time because they have a built out front desk team. And then the 80% of the time is spent doing leadership and accountability responsibilities. So then that begs the question, well, what is that? Right. So again, as you guys know, I don't like to be ambiguous. I don't like to be subjective. So when they ask me, well, Jason, what does that entail? Like, I don't want to just say something like, well, leadership. Well, keeping people accountable. That's bullshit. Like anyone that tells you that, when you ask them that question, if they're a consultant or a coach, and you're asking a very great question, what does my front desk lead do? You need to be able to answer that with a level of objectivity, specificity, and granularity. Is granularity even a word? Anyways, so let's talk about that. So what's involved in the 80%, right? So the first thing that I said is developing a sense of accountability amongst the team. So how do you do that? Well, I believe in checklists, right? So we've decided that all of these seats are now refined and developed, and we have anywhere from 5 to 10 quote unquote roles and responsibilities of each particular seat. Once you do that, you need to develop checklists for each individual seat. Now, if you're rolling your eyes when I mention the word checklist, then shame on you, because as I've mentioned before, a phenomenal book, quick read, checklist manifesto, goes into all of the benefits of checklists. And if you think you're too good for checklists, go talk to your orthopedic surgeon. Go talk to the person that's flying you on Delta or United is it United Airways or American, let's say. They use checklists. And the reason they use checklists is because there's so many things that you can remove from your mind because it's written down. It's the same thing with a to-do list. Don't tell me you guys don't have to-do lists, right? Because I know Saturday rolls around and you get all excited about, I'm going to mow the lawn. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to get my 10,000 steps. I'm going to drink half a gallon of water. Like, I know most of you write that stuff down because you love the idea of not having to remember that I'm going to do all this. And I know you love the satisfaction of checking it off, right? Like, fight me on this. I will fight you on this, right? So we develop checklists for each particular position. Now you can break up the depth of these checklists any way you want. For me, I love at a minimum a daily checklist, a weekly checklist, a monthly checklist, and a quarterly checklist. Now you can even break up the daily checklist into, by lunch and then by the end of the day, whatever it is. And again, it's not a cookbook. It's whatever you guys need. And you would have to be having conversations with your front desk lead and with your front desk team on what these checklists are going to look like. I mean, more than happy to send you my checklist, but they're not going to be, you can't just pull my logo off of my checklist and put your logo on and say, hey, go to work, right? You actually have to get in the weeds and do some work here with your team on developing these checklists. So anyways, the front desk lead, from an accountability perspective, can receive these checklists daily, weekly, either throw it on their desk. You can take a picture of the checklist and Slack it to them or text it to them, however you guys communicate. So that's the first thing that I need my front desk lead to do, is maintain a level of accountability throughout the team. And if they see something's not checked off, or if they see something's checked off and they realize it was done incorrectly, it's an awesome opportunity. Again, this is the next thing that is associated with accountability and leadership, to go to that person as soon as there's a little bit of downtime and say, hey, I noticed dot, 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 right? You come into that conversation from a position of curiosity, from a position of empathy, from a position of trying to understand. Hey, I noticed that you didn't check these two things off yesterday. Um, Help me understand what that's about. And it could be anything from, I'm not 100% sure how to do that. So that means that there was an onboarding or training issue, or I didn't have enough time to do that. Well, is that a one-time thing, or do you routinely not have enough time? If that's the case, then we have to talk about some time journaling. We have to talk about, are we giving this person too many responsibilities? We have to talk about, is this person competent enough to do what we're asking them to do? We can have great core value fits, but they lack the competency to do what we need them to do. So again, that's the accountability part. So the question is, let's just make sure we stay on track here. The question is, what do I need my front desk lead to do in that 80%, the 20% that they're not patient facing, right? So accountability, having these conversations of when things start to get off the rails. What else do we need them to do? Again, it doesn't have to be all of this, but at a certain level, you're going to have to start to roll these things out. They need to have and lead front desk meetings, right? Now, does it need to be weekly or every other week or every month? That's something that you decide. But I definitely believe in the power of meetings if the agenda is sound. And, you guys have probably seen the videos of me running a team meeting. Reach out if you don't have access to that. But I totally believe in meetings because it gives the team an opportunity to share as a team what's working, what's not working. If you use a scorecard, we could use that scorecard to tell us if we're winning or if we're not winning, things like that. So first thing I need them to do is to keep the team accountable. And we do that primarily through the checklist. And then again, if someone's not doing what we expect them to do from a checklist perspective, or even from a core value perspective, not doing what we need them to do, then that front desk lead needs to keep them accountable. The next thing that I need that front desk lead to do is run some cadence of front desk meetings using whatever agenda you feel comfortable with. In my world, we have a set agenda, and there's a scorecard that we use at that meeting. Speaking of scorecards, that's the next thing that I would consider that your front desk lead is ultimately responsible for. You can have a front desk scorecard, and the front desk scorecard should be measuring things that are very relevant to the front desk team. So what are some of those things? It could be call answer rate. It could be case presentation acceptance. It could be AR. It could be outstanding claims. It could be days scheduled to goal. It could be any of these things, but have a scorecard with 5 to 10 metrics where each person on that front desk team should be ultimately owning one of these, have a goal for each one. And then at your front desk meetings, review that scorecard and decide if you're winning or not. So let's look at AR for an example. As a general rule of thumb, again, this is not cookbook number, but as a general rule of thumb, I coach my clients to have an AR on average of 1 month revenue or less. Now there's exceptions to that if you're an orthodontist and other things like that, if you do a lot of in-house payment plans. But in general, if you're doing roughly $250,000 a month in revenue, then your AR should be around $250,000 or less. So if you put that on a scorecard and you notice it starting to increase at the meeting, we say, what's that about? Like, let's identify the root cause of why the AR is creeping up. And again, it could be any number of things. It could be that the treatment coordinators have gotten a little bit lax with their financial arrangements. It could be that when there's outstanding balances on a patient's account and you've trained the hygienist to stop at the front desk to make that payment, but they're not doing that, there's an opportunity there. But until you start to have a conversation of why is this trending in the wrong direction, then you won't be able to fix it. Call answer rate. We want to answer 90% of the calls that come into the office. If that's not occurring, if you on your scorecard, you notice that you're answering 65, 70, 75% consistently, what's that about? asking questions, being curious. How do we fix this? Right. And you may have the solution or you may not. Having a conversation with a team at the front desk that's vulnerable. And again, that's a whole nother podcast of developing trust and vulnerability amongst the team. I got a lot of podcasts on that. Go back and listen to them. You ultimately figure out a solution to how you can make this scorecard metric at goal, how you can start to answer 90% of the calls if that's important to you, right? Again, it's not a cookbook. What's important to you? Scheduling to goal, is that important to you? Case acceptance that's 50% or higher, is that important to you? If it is, then dig in, do the work to get to goal. AR, stuff like that. So again, what's the question that we're answering here? What do I need my front desk lead to do? So we've talked about keeping people accountable. We've talked about running a meeting. We've talked about using a scorecard. And then the final thing that and then there's some other things in there too. Before I talk about the final thing, let me talk about some of the nuanced things. If someone at the front desk is going to call in sick, right, or they're going to be late, they shouldn't be blowing up the doctor, right? That's what they've always done. But now the doctor's getting overwhelmed. So that person should be reaching out to their lead and say, hey, I'm really struggling today. Kids are sick, whatever it is, right? That should be the responsibility of the front desk lead, putting out those little issues. The final thing, it's never really the final thing, but one of the most important things, again, talking about what front desk leads need to do, is make their team better. Now, how do they make their team better? There's lots of ways, but the most important way, in my opinion, is doubling down on the relationship, right? So how do we do that? It's through one-on-ones, informal one-on-ones. Now, if you've never done one-on-ones before, I'm not saying that everyone in the office has to have one-on-ones and they have to be done monthly, and that's what we do, but we've been doing it a while. So if you haven't done that in a while, don't turn the thing upside down and say, oh my gosh, we have to roll all this stuff out because Jason said we do. But start to develop some level of a cadence of one-on-ones. And, I have podcasts on this too, but what do you do during those one-on-ones? Well, you just develop trust with the person that you're dealing with. You're honest with them. You're kind with them. You're patient with them. All 8 of those servant leadership principles that we've talked about ad nauseam, right? So at a high level, it's using self-assessment forms, right? And again, I don't want to get into the weeds on how to use self-assessment forms, but that's a great way to get introduced to one-on-ones if your lead and team member are not used to it. Another way is just asking open-ended questions. Another way is to just making sure that they're content and happy. What do you love about your job? What do you not love about your job? What would make you happier at work? How can I serve you? How can I help you grow? Do you have any ambitions outside of being our treatment coordinator? Like, people need someone to share this stuff with, right? People need someone at work to report to. And when you get to a certain size, the doctor can't do that anymore. It's physically, emotionally, mentally impossible to be the lead for 20 people. So this is when we start to break leadership up into these levels of responsibility. And then finally, and this is more on the doctor, but the front desk lead can also put this on their checklist, is making sure that they're being heard by whoever they report to. So in this particular case, it would be ownership. It would be the one of the partner doctors, right? So making sure that they are communicating with the doctors about what's going well, what's not going well, what they need some help with. And this was a really hard lesson for me, my doctors out there that are listening, making sure that you're not solving everything for them. Now, you can coach them up on, well, have you considered doing this? Or I would consider doing this, as opposed to, I'll take care of it, right? As soon as you say, I'll take care of it, you're basically stunting their leadership growth, right? Because experiences are where people grow. I can coach up somebody on what to do and then finish that coaching with, and I'll take care of it, or I'll deal with it, or never mind, I got it, right? That doesn't do anything for their development. Now, it may solve the problem quicker because you're the doctor and you have experience doing it, but it's not a scalable strategy. You ultimately need to give this person the tools that they need to grow into a leadership position. And with 2 steps forward and 1 step back, they will ultimately get to that place. The other thing that I need you owners, doctors, operations people to do is when someone on that front desk team, not the lead, but when someone on that front desk team comes to you and says, I'm struggling with so-and-so, or there's a little bit of animosity here, or I just want to make you aware that so-and-so is gossiping, right? So the first question that you need to be asking is, let's say the lead's name is Mary. Well, what did Mary say when you went to her with this? Right. And they're like, no, I just came to you. I've always come to you. I'm just going to come to you. Well, I get that you've always come to me, but I'm really trying to help Mary become the leader that I know she can be. And it would be super helpful if you looped Mary into this conversation. Now, there's nuances there, right? If that person doesn't feel comfortable going to Mary because the relationship hasn't been developed yet, then I would say, well, go get Mary and the three of us will talk it through, right? But that might be the bridge that you need to walk over before you get to the point where you say, hey, I need you to go talk to Mary about this. Again, that's why there's no cookbook here. It's all kind of nuanced, and there's going to be different advice for every different situation. So that's it, guys. So those are the things. Do the things, right? Again, I want to thank you for listening to the podcast. If this episode or any episode that you've listened to has been helpful, I would appreciate you sharing it. And then I would love if you could take a few seconds to leave us a 5-star review. Really trying to put content out that's real, that's relevant. I intentionally don't try to interview people that sell stuff. I really want to give you guys stuff that you deal with on a daily basis, right? That I know that caused me brain damage as I scale to the point where I am. And I know that you're dealing with it too. And if I can fold time, collapse time for you and help you get to where I am in a shorter period of time, or to wherever you want to go in a shorter period of time, if you were compared to if you were doing on your own, then I want that for you. So I just want to be able to give this content to more people. So share it, and then please leave a review. Your 5-star reviews help us get in front of more people, which helps me with my life's purpose of just serving. So again, I love you. You can reach out to me. My contact information is on the website, thedentallighthouse.com. Have an awesome day. Thank you. That wraps up another episode of the Dental Lighthouse podcast. You have a choice today. Choose to be a lighthouse. Lighthouses are powerful and steadfast. They are beacons of light for others to reference when life gets turbulent. Go out into the world today and become a lighthouse for someone. Give more than you get. True joy comes from serving others. Start today. I'm Jason Tenori, your host. Thank you for listening to the Dental Lighthouse podcast. For more information, podcast show notes, or links to anything that we have discussed today, please check out our website, thedentallighthouse.com. We would love to hear from you. If you would like to get on the show, please email us at podcast@thedentallighthouse.com.